Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope everyone is doing well today, inshallah. Today we will be starting the 30th juz and finishing our Dora-e-Quran. As always, if you have any questions for me, please feel free to ask through the chat, or if you would like to email me in private at any time, uh, I will get back to you as soon as I can, inshallah. Right, so as always, our tertib for our program will be Quran recitation, um, followed by the English translation, and along with it, inshallah, there will be some tafsir, some explanation, and a little bit of backstory as well. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulihil kareem. أما بعد فقد قال الله في القرآن المجيد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Surah An-Naba, the surah in which the Arab pagans who believed in one God, yet they worshipped idols along with Allah, and they denied the life after death. So they failed to see the importance of this belief in ensuring a just and purposeful life on this earth. So they weren't able to comprehend how the dead would be brought back to life. And so they're reminded of the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the land, how it was created, the oceans, the mountains, the pairs of living things, the mysteries of sleep and nightfall, and so on. So on Yawm al-Qiyamah, the day of judgment, it will be the day of distinction as well. It will be the day when justice will be done and people will be rewarded according to how they lived. So Surah Naba, it captures the delights and pleasures of Jannah as well. So Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. عما يتساءلون عن النبأ العظيم الذي هم فيه مختلفون كلا سيعلمون ثم كلا سيعلمون ألم نجعل الأرض مهادا والجبال أوتادا وخلقناكم أزواجا وجعلنا نومكم سباتا وجعلنا الليل لباسا وجعلنا النهار معاشا وبنينا فوقكم سبعا شدادا وجعلنا سراجا وهاجا وأنزلنا من المعصرات ماء ثجاجا لنخرج به حبا ونباتا. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, what are they asking each other about? And about the great event in which they dispute, right? The event being Yawm al-Qiyamah. And so the pagans, they used to deny that human beings, when they are turned into dust, it is impossible for anyone to revive a human being after they've become complete dust. So the following ayat, they point out to Allah's power and how He has the power to create many, many things, many marvelous objects in the universe. And if He has the power to create every single thing in the universe, if He has the power to do all of this, created out of nothing, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also has the power to recreate human beings after they have turned into dust. Indeed, they will soon know. Again, indeed, they will soon know. Do we not make the earth a floor and the mountains bulwarks? And we have created you in pairs and made your sleep a source of rest and made the night a covering and made the day a source of livelihood. And we have built 7 strong skies and created a luminous lamp, the sun. And we have sent down abundant water from the rain-laden clouds, so that we may bring out therewith grain and vegetation. وجنات ألفافا إن يوم الفصل كان ميقاتا يوم ينفخ في الصور فتأتون أفواجا وفتحت السماء فكانت أبوابا وسيرت الجبال فكانت سرابا إن جهنم كانت مرصادا للطاغين مآبا لابثين فيها أحقابا لا يذوقون فيها بردا ولا شرابا إلا حميما وغساقا. And thick gardens, surely the day of decision is an appointed time, a day when the trumpet will be blown, so you will come in multitudes, and the sky will be opened, so it will become as gates, and the mountains will be set in motion, so they will be as a mirage. Surely Jahannam, the hell, lurks in ambush. It is abode for the rebellious people who will be abiding in it for ages. They will taste nothing cool in it, nor a drink, except a boiling water and pus. جزاء وفاقا إنهم كانوا لا يرجون حسابا وكذبوا بآياتنا كذابا وكل شيء أحصيناه كتابا فذوقوا فلن نزيدكم إلا عذابا إن للمتقين مفازا حدائق وأعنابا وكواعب أترابا وكأسا دهاقا لا يسمعون فيها لغوا ولا كذابا. This being a punishment fully commensurate with their deeds, they did not expect to face accounting of their deeds, and they rejected our signs totally, and everything from their deeds is thoroughly recorded to us in writing. So now taste, we will add nothing to you but torment. Of course, the God-fearing will have great achievement. Gardens and grapes and bosom maidens of matching age and goblets filled up to the brim. They will not hear any vain talk therein, nor any lies. جزاء من ربك عطاء حسابا رب السماوات والأرض وما بينهما الرحمن لا يملكون منه خطابا يوم يقوم الروح والملائكة صفا لا يتكلمون إلا من أذن له الرحمن وقال صوابا ذلك اليوم الحق فمن شاء اتخذ إلى ربه مآبا إنا أنذرناكم عذابا قريبا يوم ينظر المرء ما قدمت يداه ويقول الكافر يا ليتني كنت ترابا. This being a reward from the Rabb, a well-calculated grant from the Rabb of the heavens and the earth and what is between them, the All-Merciful. No one will have power to address him. On the day when the Spirit and the angels will stand in rows, they will not speak except the one who is permitted by the Ar-Rahman, the All-Merciful. And again, the Spirit is the angel Jibreel alayhi salam, and speaks aright. That is a day that is sure to come. So whoever so wishes may take refuge with his Rabb. And we have warned you of an approaching torment that will be inflicted on a day when one will see what his hands have sent forth, and the disbeliever will say, "Oh, what I wish that I had turned into dust." And on this occasion, very specifically, on Yawm al-Qiyamah, when every single person is raised from the dead, and everyone will be on the hashr, they will be on the plane. So you can imagine that every single person from Adam alayhi salam up till the end of time, every single person will be on the hashr, and all the animals, right after, when the animals will also be raised up, and on an occasion where the animals will also be given their rights. For those animals that harmed each other, they'll be compensated for whatever. And then, of course, the animals themselves won't be, given a Jannah or Jahannam. Instead, all those animals, after they're compensated for whatever, all those animals will then be turned into dust. And the disbelievers, um, when they see that their end, their result, what will be their fate is Jahannam, that the fire is their fate, they will wish that they will become dust instead. And then they will say, Ya laytani kuntu turaba, that, oh, I wish that I would become into dust, because dust for me is a better result than I go to Jahannam. So Surah Naziyat. Surah Naziyat is that surah in relation to resurrection. Um, the story of Pharaoh, it explains why people don't believe. And the reason being that they're either jealous, they're proud, selfish, or they love the dunya way too much. So the surah, Surah Naziyat, it opens up with 5 oaths. Uh, it oaths or it swears by war horses, winds, stars, the souls of the righteous, and the angels. And all of this is evident to the conclusion that you will certainly be resurrected. Again, whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala he uses objects or whatever to swear an oath upon, one of the biggest reasons is for emphasis. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses to use these 5 things to emphasize the resurrection. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also uses these oaths as elocution. Uh, the Quran is very eloquent in its language, and by mentioning these oaths, even though Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need to, these 2 points are given: the point of emphasis and the point of eloquence. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والنازعات غرقا والناشطات نشطا والسابحات سبحا فالسابقات سبقا فالمدبرات أمرا يوم ترجف الراجفة تتبعها رادفة قلوب يومئذ واجفة أبصارها خاشعة يقولون أئنا لمردودون في الحافرة أإذا كنا عظاما نخرة قالوا تلك إذا كرة خاسرة فإنما هي زجرة واحدة فإذا هم بالساهرة هل أتاك حديث موسى. So I swear by those angels who pull out the souls of the disbelievers with extreme force, and by those angels who untie the knot of the souls of the believers smoothly. So if it wasn't obvious enough, these angels are those angels the angels of death, when they come out and they pull out the souls of the disbelievers, they pull them out harshly, with pain, with force. And the disbeliever, he feels it. Well, most of them, they feel this pain when their soul is being ripped out of them. But then as for those believers, the mu'mineen, the angels, when they come and they take the soul out, they take it out gently without any pain. And by those who float in the atmosphere swiftly, uh, the stars, then proceed forward quickly, then manage to do everything they're ordered to do, you will be resurrected on the day when the shocking event, the first blowing of the trumpet, will shock everything, followed by the next one, the second blowing, in which everything will be resurrected. On that day, hearts of people will be throbbing with their eyes downcast, and the disbelievers, they will say, are we going to be brought back to our former state of life? Is it that when we are turned into decayed bones? They say, if so, that will be a harmful homecoming. In fact, it will be only a single harsh voice, and in no time they'll be brought into the plain of Hashar, as there come to you the narrative or the story of Musa. إذ ناداه ربه بالواد المقدس طوى اذهب إلى فرعون إنه طغى فقل هل لك إلى أن تزكى وأهديك إلى ربك فتخشى فأراه الآية الكبرى فكذب وعصى ثم أدبر يسعى فحشر فنادى فقال أنا ربكم الأعلى فأخذه الله نكال الآخرة والأولى إن في ذلك إن في ذلك لعبرة لمن يخشى. And remember when his Rabb called him to the blessed valley of Tuwa, he said, go to Pharaoh, indeed he has crossed all bounds, and say to him, would you like to purify yourself, and that I should guide you to your Rabb so that you fear him? So he showed him the biggest sign, but he rejected and disobeyed. And then he turned back and tried hard to refute the messenger. And he gathered the people and shouted and said, I am your supreme Rabb. So Allah seized him for an exemplary punishment in the hereafter and the present world. Indeed, there is a lesson for him who fears Allah. أأنتم أشد خلقا أم السماء بناها رفع سمكها فسواها وأغطش ليلها وأخرج ضحاها والأرض بعد ذلك دحاها أخرج منها ماءها ومرعاها والجبال أرساها متاعا لكم ولأنعامكم فإذا جاءت الطامة الكبرى يوم يتذكر الإنسان ما سعى. Is your creation more difficult or that of the sky that he has built? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says that is it more difficult for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to create the universe or the sky, or is it more difficult uh, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to create a human being? So of course the answer to this question is very obvious, right? The creation of the sky is more difficult than the sky or the creation of mankind. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created the heavens and the earth, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, why is it that people think that the creation of mankind is more difficult? He has raised its height, then made it proper, and darkened its night, and brought forth its daylight. So the raising of the height is for the sky. And after that he spread out the earth. From it he brought out its water and its meadows, and firmly fixed the mountains. All this as a benefit to you and your cattle. So when the greatest havoc will take place on that day, when man will recall what he did, وبرزت الجحيم لمن يرى فأما من طغى وآثر الحياة الدنيا فإن الجحيم هي المأوى وأما من خاف مقام ربه ونهى النفس عن الهوى فإن الجنة هي المأوى يسألونك عن الساعة أيان مرساها فيما أنت من ذكراها إلى ربك منتهاها إنما أنت منذر من يخشاها كأنهم يوم يرونها لم يلبثوا إلا عشية أو ضحاها. And the hell will be exposed for all who see. Then for the one who has rebelled and preferred the worldly life, the hell will be his abode. Whereas for the one who feared to stand before his Rabb and restrained himself from the evil desire, the paradise will be his abode. And they ask you, O Prophet, about the hour of the day of judgment, as to when it will take place. In which capacity are you to tell this? With your Rabb is the final word about it. You are only a warner for anyone who fears it. And the day they will see it, it will seem to them as if they did not live in this world, but only for an afternoon or for a morning. So again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, why are the disbelievers, why are they asking you about the hour of the day of judgment? when the time of the hour, the knowledge of the hour is only known to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And not even Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam knows the time, the exact time of when the hour will come. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was only a warner for us, right? He was only was only sent as a messenger. That's why countless times in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would say to Rasulullah that it doesn't matter if the people believe or not, your job is to just warn them. Surah Abasa. So for this surah, there's a little story. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one day he was preaching to the Meccan chiefs, the leaders, hoping that they would accept his message. And there was a blind Muslim who came unexpectedly and interrupted, and he said, Rasulullah, teach me what Allah has taught you. And Rasulullah, he frowned at the blind man and turned away. He didn't realize at the time that this blind person was blind, and he thought that it was just any normal person that was interrupting his gathering. So the surah commented on this incident, and so Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to say, "You are the man for whom my Rabb censored me," or the one who Rasulullah, the one that my Rabb Allah has rebuked me upon. Excuse me. So the Quraysh were mistaken if they thought that Islam needed them. Instead, Islam appreciates sincere believers like the blind man. So the surah teaches us to respect and honor the people that have disabilities. And then afterwards, the section highlights Allah's blessings like food, life, and fertile land. Now, we've been through certain prophetic mistakes before. So in this case, many people would say that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not commit a mistake, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stopped him from saying anything before he said anything to the blind man. So in terms of prophets committing mistakes, there's a very fine line that needs to be understood. This fine line is that the prophets alayhi salam were all human beings, right? And the fact that they were human beings made it permissible for them to make mistakes. If there were angels, then there was no space for them. There was no ability for them to make mistakes because they acted solely on the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, the mistakes that a prophet would make, in this case with Rasulullah, he mistakenly sent away the blind person. It doesn't entail any sin. There was no sin that was committed by Rasulullah. So this is the fine line that the Prophet ﷺ, in this one case, there was a mistake, and in doing so, there was no sin. But then the greater aspect of this is that every single thing that the Prophet ﷺ did or did not do was an act of teaching the Muslim Ummah on how to deal with things, or teaching a lesson or teaching a message to us. So in this case, the message was to treat with fairness, equality, with even those people with disabilities. And who was Rasulullah with? He wasn't with just any Sahaba. He wasn't with, the regular poor folk. He was with the high esteemed leaders of the Quraysh. So he wasn't with just any, normal people. He was with high esteemed people. So it goes to show that even with that type of gathering, Rasulullah should have fairly dealt with the blind person. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. عبس وتولى أن جاءه الأعمى وما يدريك لعله يزكى أو يذكر فتنفعه الذكرى أما من استغنى فأنت له تصدى وما عليك ألا يزكى وأما من جاءك يسعى وهو يخشى فأنت عنه تلهى. The Prophet, frowned and turned his face because the blind man came to him. What could tell you, O Prophet, about the prospects of the blind man? Maybe if you had attended him properly, he would have attained purity, or would have received the advice, and the advice would have benefited him. As for the one who does not care about faith, you are anxious to pursue him. Well, there is no blame on you if he does not attain purity. As regards the one who has come to you rushing eagerly, well, he fears Allah. To him you pay no heed. كلا إنها تذكرة فمن شاء ذكره في صحف مكرمة مرفوعة مطهرة بأيدي سفرة كرام بررة قتل الإنسان ما أكفره من أي شيء خلقه من نطفة خلقه فقدره ثم السبيل يسره. You should never act in this way. Indeed, this Quran is an advice. So whoever so wills may pay heed to it. It is recorded in those scripts of the preserved tablet that are honored, exalted, purified in the hands of those scribes who are honorable, righteous, and damned is the man, how ungrateful he is. And this person who is being cursed by Allah is that person who rejects the message of the Quran. From which did he, from what things did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create him? From a drop of semen, He created him and designated him in and designed him in due proportion. And then He made the way easy for him. And this passage is in reference to the birth of a person, how a baby comes out of a narrow passageway. ثم أماته فأقبره ثم إذا شاء أنشره كلا لما يقض ما أمره فلينظر الإنسان إلى طعامه أنا سببنا الماء صبا ثم شققنا الأرض شقا فأنبتنا فيها حبا وعنبا وقضبا وزيتونا ونخلا وحدائق غلبا. Later he made him die and put him into a grave, and thereafter when he will intend, he will raise him up. No, he has not yet fulfilled what Allah has commanded him. So the man should consider his food, how well we poured water, and how nicely we split the earth. Then we made it grow in it grain, and grapes and grains, and olive and date palms, and gardens full of thick trees. وفاكهة وأبا متاعا لكم ولأنعامكم فإذا جاءت الصاخة يوم يفر المرء من أخيه وأمه وأبيه وصاحبته وبنيه لكل امرئ منهم يومئذ شأن يغنيه وجوه يومئذ مسفرة ضاحكة مستبشرة ووجوه يومئذ عليها غبرة ترهقها قترة أولئك هم الكفرة الفجرة. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created the fruits and the fodder as a benefit for you and your cattle. So when the deafening noise will occur, the trumpet, and the day when one will flee from his brother and from his mother and father and from his wife and sons, every one of them will be too engaged in his own affairs to care for the others. Many faces on that day will be bright, laughing, rejoicing, and many faces on that day will be stained with dust, covered by darkness, and those are the disbelievers, the nefarious. Now, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will raise us all on Hashr, on that plane. Um, the biggest thing is that every single person will not be clothed. So every single person will be bare and naked. Now, the severity of the event that is happening around every single person, there will not be a single moment where a person will be able to think that, uh, every single person around me is naked, or what's happening, what's this. It will all be nafsi nafsi. That's what every single person will uh, be thinking about, just themselves, and not a single person will be thinking about, oh, what's happening to my mom, what's happening to my wife, what's happening to my loved ones. It'll only be about myself. How can I save myself? What can I do? That's the only thing that would be crossing your mind. There won't be a single instance where a person will be able to look down and see that they're naked, or that every single person around them is naked. And there won't be a single moment of spare time where a person is able to think about anything else beside their own state. Surah At-Takwir, the shrouding, and this surah is about the truthfulness, the haqq of the Quran, and how valid are the teachings of the Quran as well. So, Surah Takwir, it begins with uh, the events on Yawm al-Qiyamah that lead, those events that lead to Yawm al-Qiyamah. So not the events of Yawm al-Qiyamah, but the events right before it. And it validates the truthfulness of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the source of the message as well, and describes the power, the credibility, and the reliability of the Spirit, Jibreel alayhi salam. And then afterwards, at the end, uh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, فَأَيْنَ تَذْهَبُونَ? So where are you going? بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذا الشمس كورت وإذا النجوم كدرت وإذا الجبال سيرت وإذا العشار عطلت وإذا الوحوش حشرت وإذا البحار سجرت وإذا النفوس زوجت وإذا الموءودة سئلت بأي ذنب قتلت وإذا الصحف نشرت وإذا السماء كشطت وإذا الجحيم سعرت وإذا الجنة أزلفت علمت نفس ما أحضرت فلا أقسم بالخنس الجوار الكنس والليل إذا عسعس والصبح إذا تنفس إنه لقول رسول كريم ذي قوة عند ذي العرش مكين مطاع ثم أمين وما صاحبكم بمجنون ولقد رآه بالأفق المبين وما هو على الغيب بضنين وما هو بقول شيطان رجيم فأين تذهبون إن هو إلا ذكر للعالمين لمن شاء منكم أن يستقيم وما تشاءون إلا أن يشاء الله رب العالمين. I usually do 10 to 15 ayahs, but since the surahs are getting smaller and smaller, I might as well just read the whole surah, maybe not mutafifin. And then after reading the whole surah, I'll do the translation. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, when the sun will be folded up. Now, the literal translation of takwir is how folded up is translated. So the exact nature of how the sun will be folded, whether it will be folded in half, folded like origami, folded in itself like a black hole that sucks in another black hole, or it's not entirely detailed or accurate of how the folding of the sun will be, but the way takwir or kuwirat is, It denotes the termination of the function of an object, meaning the function of the sun either being giving light or giving heat. That function will cease to be. So in that sense, it would mean that, and many mufassirin they say that that is the correct interpretation. And when the stars will swoop down, and when the mountains will be set in motion, and when the 10 months pregnant she camels will be abandoned. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He uses in the Quran many examples, the she camel, right? Now, one of the biggest reasons a she camel is used as an example is because the she camel may or would probably be the most favorite item of wealth in Arabia, because uh, starting off with a camel, you have many uses for it as an adult, and then a pregnant she camel, you are able to multiply that investment. So especially when a she camel is 10 months pregnant, she is expected to deliver at that time, and therefore adding to that person's wealth. So these type of she camels were seen to be preserved carefully and were not abandoned except unless there was a state of emergency. And so that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He uses this example, because Yawm al-Qiyamah will be that state of emergency. And when the wild beasts will be gathered, and these are the wild animals that will be joined together due to the panic. So even like the lions and the predators and the preys basically will all be together, and they won't be worried about running or eating each other. Instead, they'll be worried about themselves as well. And when the seas will be flared up. Now, we've gone over this specific uh, occasion many times. Uh, So this sujirat or tasjir is usually in the text, it means to kindle a fire or fuel the fire. And the mufassirin, the explainers of the Quran, they explain that the seas will first overflow, and then all of the water, all of the seas will turn into fire. And all of these events that are mentioned up until this ayah will occur after the first blowing of the trumpet. And while the events after this ayah will occur after the second blowing of the trumpet. And when the people will be arranged in categories, and when the girl child that was buried alive will be asked, for what sin was she killed? SubhanAllah, this is a very deep ayah. Right, the people in Arabia, they used to take the birth of a girl, of a newborn girl, as a curse and a cause of shame for their family. And so, whenever their wives would give birth to a female, they would bury her alive. They wouldn't even bother killing her. They would just bury her. So this custom was referred to here, and the question asked from the girl is in fact a question posed to her father, who was responsible for such a heinous offense. So the girl will say, why was I buried alive? What sin did I do? For what reason was I buried alive for? Many of the Sahaba, before they became Muslim, they also they also committed some of these acts. Even Umar radiallahu anh, he would often think back and reflect on how he buried his own daughter alive. And when the scrolls of deeds will be unrolled, and when the sky will be stripped off, and when the hell will be set ablaze, and when the paradise will be brought close, and then everyone will know what he or she has put forward. So I swear by those stars that recede, that proceed, that withdraw from the scene, and by the night when it departs, and the moon when it starts breathing. And the Quran is surely the word of a noble messenger. And in this case, the messenger is Jibreel alayhi salam, the one possessing power and a high status with the Rabb of the throne, the one who obeyed there, trusted your companion is not a madman, and he did see Jibreel alayhi salam on the clear horizon. And the Prophet is not stingy about the news of the unseen, nor is it that the word of an outcast shaitan. Then where are you going? It is nothing else but a message of advice for all the worlds, for the benefit of anyone from among you who intends to go straight, and you cannot intend to do anything unless it is so willed by Allah, the Rabb of the worlds. Surah Al-Infitar. Oh, this is not Surah Al-Infitar. There we go. All right, so Surah Al-Infitar. The surah, it reveals a self-deception that turns us away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After taking the oaths of the events leading to Yawm al-Qiyamah, uh, the surah, it asks, humans, what has deceived and misled you from your generous Rabb? Right? It says, Ya ayyuhal insan ma gharraka bi rabbikal kareem. And the qualities of the Rabb who created everything are evoked to prick the conscious. So you're monitored by the angels who record your every move. And on Yawm al-Qiyamah, every single person will be given the full account. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إذا السماء فطرت وإذا الكواكب انتثرت وإذا البحار فجرت وإذا القبور بعثرت علمت نفس ما قدمت وأخرت يا أيها الإنسان ما غرك بربك الكريم الذي خلقك فسواك فعدلك في أي صورة ما شاء ركبك كلا بل تكذبون بالدين وإن عليكم لحافظين كراما كاتبين يعلمون ما تفعلون إن الأبرار لفي نعيم وإن الفجار لفي جحيم يصلونها يوم الدين وما هم عنها بغائبين وما أدراك ما يوم الدين ثم ما أدراك ما يوم الدين يوم لا تملك نفس لنفس شيئا والأمر يومئذ لله. When the sky will be cleft asunder, and when the stars will disperse, and when the seas will burst forth, and when the graves will be overturned, then one will know what he has sent ahead and what he has left behind. And what he has sent ahead means that what he did in the worldly life for the life of the hereafter, whatever he has left behind, are those deeds that will not follow him in the hereafter. Oh man, what has deceived you about your gracious Rabb, who has created you and perfected you and then brought you in due proportion? He has composed you in whichever form he willed. Never One should never be heedless towards him, but you deny the requital, while appointed over you there are watchers. And these watchers are the angels appointed for every single person that record the good deeds and the bad deeds, who are noble writers of the deeds, who know whatever you do. Surely the righteous will be in bliss, and the sinners will be in hell, in which there will be in which they'll enter on the day of requital, and they will not be able to keep away from it. And what will let you know what the day of requital is? Again, what will make you know what the day of requital is? A day when no one will have the power to do anything for another, and command on that day will belong to Allah alone. And although it's Allah's command and authority that are really enforced in the universe, in this world, there are some rulers here on this earth who apparently have authority over their subjects. So on Yawm al-Qiyamah, even those kings, those chiefs, those presidents or prime ministers or whatever, those wazirs, the only authority that will remain will be the authority of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Surah Al-Mutaffifin, the cheats. So the surah, it condemns cheating traders and dishonest shopkeepers. They're singled out since they have more opportunities to cheat and exploit the poor and the weak. And these injustices that are committed by those who deny the day of judgment, and they feel that they can do so because of any consequences, right? They think that, there's nothing that will happen to them if they do so, and that's why they do it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, أَلَا يَظُنُّ أُولَٰئِكَ أَنَّهُمْ مَبْعُوثُونَ, says, you know, uh, don't they believe that they will be resurrected on a grand day? And this group is contrasted with people of faith and honesty who will enjoy the delights of paradise. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ويل للمطففين الذين إذا اكتالوا على الناس يستوفون وإذا كالوهم أو وزنوهم يخسرون ألا يظن أولئك أنهم مبعوثون ليوم عظيم يوم يقوم الناس لرب العالمين كلا إن كتاب الفجار لفي سجين وما أدراك ما سجين كتاب مرقوم ويل يومئذ للمكذبين الذين يكذبون بيوم الدين وما يكذب به إلا كل معتد أثيم إذا تتلى عليه آياتنا قال أساطير الأولين كلا بل ران على قلوبهم ما كانوا يكسبون كلا إنهم عن ربهم يومئذ لمحجوبون ثم إنهم لصال الجحيم ثم يقال هذا الذي كنتم به تكذبون كلا إن كتاب الأبرار لفي عليين وما أدراك ما عليون كتاب مرقوم. Woe to the curtailers who, when they measure something to receive from people, take it in full, and when they measure away something to give it to them, they give it less than what is due. So as it was mentioned before, this surah is for those who cheat in business and trade, but the general principle is that it's prohibited in having two different standards when behaving with other people. So the treatment disapproved for one's own self must not be approved for others. So the general basis is that you treat others the way you treat that you want to be treated. Do they think that they will have to be raised up on a great day, than the day when all the people will stand before the Rabb of the worlds? Never, indeed, the record of deeds of the sinners is in Sijjin. And Sijjin, it literally means prison, but the Quranic word here, or the term that's used here, it refers to the place that is the center of the souls of the disbelievers in the period between the death and Yawm al-Qiyamah. So the record of deeds will be kept in Sijjin as a register inscribed. And what may let you know what Sijjin is, it is a register inscribed, woe that day to the deniers who deny the day of requital, and none denies it but every sinful transgressor. When our verses are recited to him, he says, these are tales of the ancients. No, but that which used to commit has covered their hearts with rust. No, indeed, they will be screened off from their Rabb on that day. So screen meaning there'll be a veil in between them. Then they will have to enter into the hell, and then it will be said, this is what you used to deny. No, the record of deeds of the righteous is in Illiyun. Now, Illiyun, it literally means the upper residence. And again, just like Sijin, it refers to the place in the upper realm where the souls of righteous are accommodated in this period, in a period between death and the day of judgment. So their record of deeds is also stored there in Illiyun, and it will be explained in the next ayah. So what will make you know what Illiyun is? It is a registered, inscribed يشهده المقربون إن الأبرار لفي نعيم على الأرائك ينظرون تعرف في وجوههم نظرة النعيم يسقون من رحيق مختوم ختامه مسك وفي ذلك فليتنافس المتنافسون ومزاجه من تسنيم عينا يشرب بها المقربون إن الذين أجرموا كانوا من الذين آمنوا يضحكون وإذا مروا بهم يتغامزون وإذا انقلبوا إلى أهلهم انقلبوا فكهين وإذا رأوهم قالوا إن هؤلاء لضالون وما أرسلوا عليهم حافظين فاليوم الذين آمنوا من الكفار يضحكون على الأرائك ينظرون هل ثوب الكفار ما كانوا يفعلون attended by those angels who are blessed with nearness to Allah. Indeed, the righteous will be in absolute bliss. While sitting on thrones, they'll be watching the scenes of paradise. You'll recognize the glamour of bliss on their faces. They will be served with a pure, sealed wine to drink, the seal of which will be of musk. It is this bliss and aspiring for which the competitors should race each other, and it will be blended with a drink from the Tasneem, a spring from which will drink those who are blessed with nearness. Indeed, those who are guilty, you shall laugh at those who believed. And when they passed by them, they used to wink at one another. And when they went back to their family, they went enjoying their mockery. And when they saw them, they said, surely these are the ones who have gone astray, while they were not sent as watchmen over them. So today, those who believed will laugh at the disbelievers. While sitting on thrones, they will be seeing whether the disbelievers have been paid back for what they used to do. Surah Al-Inshiqaq, the splitting open. So the surah shows the connection between the actions and outcomes of a person. So these actions and these outcomes are distinct and discernible in this world. So an indirect disapproval of the Makkans who refused to obey their Rabb despite having intelligence. And even though some of them knew that Rasulullah was a prophet, they just would not accept the belief because they were jealous. And we've been through these examples and this many times before. So working hard for one's livelihood is a universal human intrinsic value, right? But to limit life to this only thing is incorrect, and so a workaholic is challenged. He is advised not to forget the hereafter and the meeting with his sustainer. However, those who work hard for the hereafter are guaranteed progress. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, لَتَرْكَبُنَّ طَبَقًا عَنْ طَبَقٍ. He says you will develop stage by stage. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, and in Islam, I'm not sure I have too much time to delve on this topic, but but in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasulullah countless times emphasizes the balance between deen and dunya. So deen and dunya meaning you work a job, right? You work for your livelihood and whatnot, but at the same time, you make time for deen. You don't delve too much in your work life. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إذا السماء انشقت وأذنت لربها وحقت وإذا الأرض مدت وألقت ما فيها وتخلت وأذنت لربها وحقت يا أيها الإنسان إنك كادح إلى ربك كدحا فملاقيه فأما من أوتي كتابه بيمينه فسوف يحاسب حسابا يسيرا وينقلب إلى أهله مسرورا وأما من أوتي كتابه وراء ظهره فسوف يدعو ثبورا ويصلى سعيرا إنه كان في أهله مسرورا إنه ظن أن لن يحور بلى إن ربه كان به بصيرا فلا أقسم بالشفق والليل وما وسق والقمر إذا اتسق لتركبن طبقا عن طبق فما لهم لا يؤمنون وإذا قرئ عليهم القرآن لا يسجدون بل الذين كفروا يكذبون والله أعلم بما يوعون فبشرهم بعذاب أليم إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات لهم أجر غير ممنون. When the sky will split apart and will listen to the command of its Rabb and ought to, and when the people will be stretched to give room to more people. And so it's mentioned in a hadith on uh, on the day of Yom Al-Qiyamah, on the day of resurrection, the earth will be stretched like a rubber or a leather to accommodate all the people who were created from the beginning of time till the end of time. And you can find this hadith in Hakim. And it will be thrown up whatever it contains and will become empty, and includes all men and women buried in graves and all the minerals found in the earth, and will listen to the command of its Rabb, and it ought to, then the man will see the consequences of his deeds. O man, you have to work hard constantly to reach your Rabb, and then you have to meet him. So as for him whose book of deeds will be given to him in his right hand, he will be called to account in an easy manner, and he will be called to account in an easy manner, and he will go back to his people joyfully. As for those whose book of deeds will be given to him from his backside. So in many places in the Quran, it's mentioned that the record of deeds of disbelievers will be given in their left hand, and that is why they are named the people of the left. And combined with these ayat, the present ayat means that they will be given their record of deeds from their behind into their left hand. So it won't even be facing two of them, but from their back into their left hand. He will pray for death. He will enter into the blazing fire. He had been joyful among his people in the world. He thought he would never revert to Allah. No, indeed, his Rabb was watchful over him. So I swear by the twilight after sunset, and by the night what it envelops, and by the moon when it develops at full stage, you shall certainly ascend from stage to stage. So what is wrong with them that they do not believe? And when the Quran is recited to them, they do not offer sajda. And this is a sajda ayah, so please remember to do sajda at the end of the class. Rather, those who disbelieve and deny the truth, and Allah is most aware of what they store. And whatever a man does in this world is stored for, or is stored for, or stored against him. In the sense that he has either stored good deeds to his credit, it will be beneficial for him. Otherwise, if he has stored evil deeds, it will be used against him. So give him the good news of a painful punishment. But those who believed and did righteous deeds will have a reward that will never be interrupted. So the two things that have to be mentioned here. So the reward, number one, the reward will never be held back from a person when they're rewarded. And number two, it will not be tied up with any particular season, like the fruits of this world. So meaning that if something is available in the wintertime, but it's not available in the summer, it doesn't mean that will be withheld for that person. Rather, the fruits in paradise will be available to that person no matter what the season is. All right, so I may need to pick up the pace. Um, Otherwise, we might be continuing on up until Maghrib time, and I'm pretty sure no one would want that. All right, so for Surah Al-Buruj, it marks the beginning of the second phase of the mission of Rasulullah around the third year. So it tells the story of the diggers of the trench when the Yemeni king burnt the Christians of Najran in a trench. And the story gives reassurance to the believers and warns the Quraysh uh, at the same time. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والسماء ذات البروج واليوم الموعود وشاهد ومشهود قتل أصحاب الأخدود النار ذات الوقود إذ هم عليها قعود وهم على ما يفعلون بالمؤمنين شهود وما نقموا منهم إلا أن يؤمنوا بالله العزيز الحميد الذي له ملك السماوات والأرض والله على كل شيء شهيد إن الذين فتنوا المؤمنين والمؤمنات ثم لم يتوبوا فلهم عذاب جهنم ولهم عذاب الحريق إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات لهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار ذلك الفوز الكبير إن بطش ربك لشديد إنه هو يبدئ ويعيد وهو الغفور الودود ذو العرش المجيد فعال لما يريد هل أتاك حديث الجنود فرعون وثمود بل الذين كفروا في تكذيب والله من ورائهم محيط بل هو قرآن مجيد في لوح محفوظ. I swear by the sky, the one having stellar formations, and by the promised day, and by that which attends and that which is attended, curse for the people of the trench, the people of the fire that was rich with fuel, when they were sitting by it and were watching what they were doing with the believers. They punished them for doing nothing, but that they were believing in Allah, the Almighty, the worthy of all praise, the one to whom belongs the kingdom of the heavens and the earth, and Allah is witness over everything. Surely those who persecuted the believing men and the believing women, they did not repent. For them there is the torment of Jahannam, and for them there is the torment of burning. As for those who believed and did righteous deeds, for them there are gardens beneath which rivers flow. That is the big achievement. The seizure of your Rabb is severe indeed. Surely He originates creation and repeats it after death. And He is the most forgiving, the most loving, the master of the throne, the glorious. He is the ever doer of what He intends. As there come to you the story of the forces of Pharaoh and Thamud. But those who disbelieve are engaged in denying the truth. Allah has encompassed them from all sides. The reality is that it is a glorious Quran recorded in the preserved tablet. So Surah Tariq is is a surah of the truthfulness of Yawm al-Qiyamah. So after taking the oaths of the shining stars, people are reminded that in kullu nafsin lamma alayha hafid, that there is a protector or a keeper over you. So those who deny the day of judgment are invited to reflect about their humble beginnings, saying, where do you come from and where are you going? بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والسماء والطارق وما أدراك ما الطارق النجم الثاقب إن كل نفس لما عليها حافظ فلينظر الإنسان مما خلق من ماء دافق يخرج من بين الصلب والترائب إنه على رجعه لقادر يوم تبلى السرائر فما له من قوة ولا ناصر والسماء ذات الرجع والأرض ذات الصدع إنه لقول فصل وما هو بالهزل إنهم يكيدون كيدا وأكيد كيدا فمهل الكافرين أمهلهم رويدا. I swear by the sky and by the night comer, and what may let you know what the night comer is, the star of piercing brightness. So just as the stars are present in the sky at all times, they're only visible at nighttime. So similarly, the deeds one does in this world are all recorded by the angels who are named in this text as the watchers, but their record will only be visible on Yawm al-Qiyamah. There is no human being, but there is a watcher over him. So let man consider of which stuff he has created. He is created of spouting water that comes out from beneath the loins and the chest bones. Surely he is powerful to bring him back on a day when all the secrets will be searched out, and he will have neither strength to defend nor supporter. I swear by the sky that rains and the earth that cracks open for plants. This is a decisive word, and it is not a joke. They're devising plans, and I am devising plans. So leave the disbelievers alone at the moment. Give them respite for a while. So at that time or at that stage, no punishment was intended to be inflicted on the disbelievers. They were given a time, right? Uh, a time of respite. And so after that, they were seized, and whatever time was destined for them, and whatever either that time would be in the dunya or the time would be in the akhirah. All right, so as for Surah Al-A'la, Surah explains how the Quran and the messengers are reminders. There's a reference to the early scriptures of Musa alayhi salam and Ibrahim alayhi salam, verifying that the Quran as a continuation of the same mission. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks, what blinds humanity to this reality? The love of the worldly life. So these ayat express the contempt for the love of the material world as it distracts the people from the Rabb. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبح اسم ربك الأعلى الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فحد excuse me والذي قدر فهدى والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء أحوى سنقرئك فلا تنسى إلا ما شاء الله إنه يعلم الجهر وما يخفى ونيسرك لليسرى فذكر إن نفعت ذكرى سيذكر من يخشى ويتجنبها الأشقى الذي يصلى النار الكبرى ثم لا يموت فيها ولا يحيا قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, pronounce the purity of the name of your most exalted Rabb, who created everything, then made it well, and who determined and who determined a measure for everything and guided it, and who brought forth pasturage, then turned it into a blackening stubble. We will make you recite, then you will not forget, except that which Allah wills. Indeed, He knows what is manifest and what is hidden, and we will facilitate for you to reach the easiest way. So extend advice to the people if advice is useful. The one who fears Allah will observe the advice and will be avoided by the most wretched one, who will enter into the biggest fire. Then he will neither die therein nor live a desirable life. Success is surely achieved by him who purifies himself and pronounces the name of his Rabb, then offers prayer. But you prefer the worldly life. Allah hereafter is much better and much more durable. Indeed, this is written in the earlier divine scripts, the scripts of Ibrahim and Musa. So Surah Al-Ghashiyah is the awe-inspiring event, and this surah supports the three doctrines of Islam. The Day of Judgment is introduced in an unusual manner. uh, saying, "Has the news of the overwhelming event reached you?" And then followed by a harrowing account of what will happen to the disbeliever who worked hard in his life but ignored Allah and forgot about the hereafter. And then, in contrast, the believer worked to please his Rabb, and humanity is invited to enjoy the delights of paradise, its elegant surroundings, its comfort and luxury. And what is the price tag? It is faith and Iman. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هل أتاك حديث الغاشية وجوه يومئذ خاشعة عاملة ناصبة تصلى نارا حامية تسقى من عين آنية ليس لهم طعام إلا من ضريع لا يسمن ولا يغني من جوع وجوه يومئذ ناعمة لسعيها راضية في جنة عالية لا تسمع فيها لاغية فيها عين جارية فيها سرر مرفوعة وأكواب موضوعة ونمارق مصفوفة وزرابي مبثوثة أفلا ينظرون إلى الإبل كيف خلقت وإلى السماء كيف رفعت وإلى الجبال كيف نصبت وإلى الأرض كيف سطحت فذكر إنما أنت مذكر لست عليهم بمسيطر إلا من تولى وكفر فيعذبه الله العذاب الأكبر إن إلينا إيابهم ثم إن علينا حسابهم. As we come to the description of the overwhelming event, many faces that day will be humbled, laboring, exhausted. They will enter into the scorching fire. They will be made to drink after. They will be made to drink water from a boiling spring. There will be no food for them except from a thorny plant that will be neither nourishing nor satisfying their hunger. Many faces that day will be full of glamour, well pleased with their endeavor in a lofty garden in which they will not hear any absurd talk. In it there is a flowing spring. In it there are elevated couches and goblets well placed, and cushions arrayed and carpets spread around. So do they not look at the camels, how they are created, and at the sky, how it is raised high, and at the mountains, how they are installed, and at the earth, how it is spread out? So, O Prophet, keep on preaching. You are only but a preacher. You are not a taskmaster set up over them. But whoever turns away and disbelieves, Allah will punish him with the greatest torment. Surely towards us they have to return. Then it is to our job to call them to account. Surah Al-Fajr, the dawn. The surah, it also opens up with a series, or not a series, but actually, yes, a series of oaths that reminds us about the binary nature of creation and the oneness of Allah. So the surah, it points out how humans are unthankful and ungrateful to Allah. And at the slight loss of wealth or pain, they grumble and became impatient. So in this surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warns us and tells us to renounce these bad habits. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والفجر وليال عشر والشفع والوتر والليل إذا يسر هل في ذلك قسم لذي حجر ألم تر كيف فعل ربك بعاد إرم ذات العماد التي لم يخلق مثلها في البلاد وثمود الذين جابوا الصخر بالواد وفرعون ذي الأوتاد الذين طغوا في البلاد فأكثروا فيها الفساد وصب عليهم ربك صوت عذاب إن ربك لبالمرصاد فأما الإنسان إذا ما ابتلاه ربه فأكرمه ونعمه فيقول ربي أكرمن وأما إذا ما ابتلاه فقدر عليه رزقه فيقول ربي أهانن كلا بل لا تكرمون اليتيم ولا تحاولون تحاضون على طعام المسكين وتأكلون التراث أكلا لما وتحبون المال حبا جما كلا إذا دكت الأرض دكا دكا وجاء ربك والملك صفا صفا وجيء يومئذ بجهنم يومئذ يتذكر الإنسان وأنى له الذكرى يقول يا ليتني قدمت لحياتي فيومئذ لا يعذب عذابه أحد ولا يوثق وثاقه أحد يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي. I swear by the dawn and by the 10 nights. So these 10 nights are the first 10 nights of Dhul Hijjah because these nights have special merits. And these merits, according to a hadith, that fasting for one day during this period carries the reward of fasting for the whole entire year, and acts of worship in one night carry the reward of worshipping in Laylatul Qadr. And by the even and the odd. So either this could mean the even and the odd things, the odd referring to the days of Arafah, in which the pilgrims are assembled in the plain of Arafah, or the even referring to the 10th of Dhul Hijjah. So these oaths are mentioned to emphasize the emphasis of these things, and not only that, but to also emphasize the importance of these days. And by the night when it moves away, is there not in such an oath enough assurance for a man of sense? Have you not seen how your Rabb dealt with the people of Ad, of Iram, the men of tall pillars, the like of whom were never created in the lands? So Hiram is the title of an ancient tribe in Ad. They had extraordinary physical nature or stage stature, and they rejected the call of Hud alayhi salam, and they were destroyed by a violent wind. And how he dealt with the people of Thamud who had carved out the rocks in the valley of Qura, and with Fir'aun, the man of stakes. Now, stakes, we mentioned this before, but stakes because whenever Fir'aun used to kill people, he would kill them with stakes and tie them up with stakes. And so this is why he was given this title, the man of stakes, the man who had rebelled in the cities and spread a lot of mischief therein. So your Rabb let loose on them the whip of torment. Surely your Rabb is ever on the watch. As for man, when his Rabb tests him and gives him honor and bounties, he says, my Rabb has honored me. But when he tests him and he straightens his provision for him, he says, my Rabb has disgraced me. No, but you do not honor the orphan and do not encourage one another to feed the needy, and you devour the inheritance with a weeping, sweeping gulp, and love wealth and excessive love. No, when the earth will be crushed thoroughly to be turned into bits, and your Rabb will come, and the angels as well lined up in rows. And so this ayah is a mutashabihat. Mutashabihat meaning that no one can know the exact nature of Allah's coming on that day. So we'll know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will come, but we don't know in which nature or which exact detail this entails. And Jahannam on that day will be brought forward. It will be the day when man will realize the truth, but from where will he take advantage of such realization? He will say, oh, that I had sent ahead some good deeds from my life, so no one can punish like he will punish that day, nor can anyone shackle like he will shackle. As for an obedient man, it will be said to him, O content soul, come back to your Rabb, well pleased, well pleasing, and so enter among my special servants and enter my paradise. The Surah Al-Balad employs the metaphor of the steep mountainous track to describe the nature of Islam, meaning the similarity is that the nature of Islam is a struggle, it is a jihad. So the divine dislike is expressed for people who are deceived by the strength and influence, and like the Meccan wrestler who thought no one had the power over him, not even the angel of death, and this Meccan wrestler was then taken down by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so, in any case, the Quran warns against these type of delusions. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. لا أقسم بهذا البلد وأنت حل بهذا البلد ووالد وما ولد لقد خلقنا الإنسان في كبد أيحسب أن لن يقدر عليه أحد يقول أهلكت مالا لبدا أيحسب أن لم يره أحد ألم نجعل له عينين ولسانا وشفتين وهديناه النجدين فلاقتحم العقبة وما أدراك ما العقبة فك رقبة أو إطعام في يوم ذي مسغبة يتيما ذا مقربة أو مسكينا ذا متربة ثم كان من الذين آمنوا وتواصوا بالصبر وتواصوا بالمرحمة أولئك أصحاب الميمنة والذين كفروا بآياتنا هم أصحاب المشأمة عليهم نار مؤصدة. I swear by the city, and O Prophet, you are going to be allowed to fight in the city, and by the Father and all those he begot. And the Father here is a reference to Adam alayhi salam, and not the way in the Bible is mentioning a father being Allah, na'udhu billah. Indeed, we have created man to live in a hard struggle. Does he think that no one has power over him? He says, I have spent a lot of wealth. Does he think that no one has seen him? Did we not make for him 2 eyes and a tongue and 2 lips, and showed him the 2 ways? Yet he did not make his way through the steep course. A steep course, the Quran uses aqaba, which means a steep, a hilly road, and it is used here for the righteous deeds that seem difficult in appearance, but they carry a lot of reward in the hereafter. And what may let you know what a steep course is, it is the freeing of the neck of a slave, or giving food in a day of hunger to an orphan near of kin, or to a needy person lying in dust. Lying in dust doesn't mean literally lying in dust, but it means a person who is in extreme poverty and starvation. And so he did join those who believe and advise each other to be patient and advise each other to be merciful. And so those are the people of the right hand. And as for those who reject our verses, they are the people of the left hand. Upon them will be the fire, enveloping them with closed exits. Surah Al-Shams it also opens up with a series of oaths. And the surah tells us that the human conscience can distinguish between right and wrong, between good and evil. And so the one who develops the moral values, spiritual beliefs, and social norms will flourish, and the one who disregards them will eventually fail. So the tribe of Thamud is presented as an example of a tribe or people who failed. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والشمس وضحاها والقمر إذا تلاها والنهار إذا جلاها والليل إذا يغشاها والسماء وما بناها والأرض وما طحاها ونفس وما سواها فألهمها فجورها وتقواها قد أفلح من زكاها وقد خاب من دساها كذبت ثمود بطغواها إذ انبعث أشقاها وقال لهم رسول الله ناقة الله وسقياها فكذبوه فعقروها فدمدم عليهم ربهم بذنبهم فسواها ولا يخاف عقباها. I swear by the sun and his broad light, and by the moon when she follows him, and by the day when it shows its brightness, and by the night when it envelops him, and by the sky and the one who built it, and by the earth and the one who spread it, and by the soul and the one who made it well. They inspired it with its instincts of evil and piety. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has invested every single person with the inherent ability to do good or evil. So it's a person's choice whether or not they want to do good or bad. Success is really attained by him who purifies it, and failure is really suffered by him who pollutes it. The people of Thamud deny the truth because their transgression when rose up the one who was most wretched of them. So the Messenger of Allah said to them, be careful of Allah's she-camel and her right to drink, but they rejected him and killed her. So their Rabb sent eradicating torment upon them because of their sin and made it equal for all, and he has no fear of its consequence. So Surah Al-Layl, the night, explains the diversity of human endeavor and enterprise. So the primary choice of confronting people between good and evil is practicing positive moral values. So good people are generous, mindful, and appreciate good, and uh, and so this is the proper model behavior, and as according to the Quran. In contrast, a bad person is someone who is miser, who doesn't spend in the path of Allah, someone who's forgetful, and someone who denies the truth. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والليل إذا يغشى والنهار إذا تجلى وما خلق الذكر والأنثى إن سعيكم لشتى فأما من أعطى واتقى وصدق بالحسنى فسنيسره لليسرى وأما من بخل واستغنى وكذب بالحسنى فسنيسره للعسرى وما يغني عنه ماله إذا تردى إن علينا للهدى وإن لنا للآخرة والأولى فأنذرتكم نارا تلظى لا يصلاها إلا الأشقى الذي كذب وتولى وسيجنبها الأتقى الذي يؤتي ماله يتزكى وما لأحد عنده من نعمة تجزى إلا ابتغاء وجه ربه الأعلى وَلَسَوْفَ يَرْضَى. I swear by the night when it covers the sun, and by the day when it unveils itself, and by the one who created the male and the female. Your efforts are diverse. As for the one who gives in charity and fears Allah and believes in the best religion, we will facilitate for him the way to extreme ease, the comforts of paradise. But the one who is miser and deems himself self-sufficient and rejects the best religion, will facilitate for him the way to extreme distress, and his wealth will not help him when he will fall down into hell. Of course, it is undertaken by us to guide, and in our control is the hereafter and the worldly life. So I have warned you of a blazing fire. None will enter it but the wretched one who rejected the truth and turned away from it, and saved from it will be the most God-fearing one who gives his wealth in charity to become purified, while no one has conferred any favor on him for which he would give a return, but he gave his wealth in charity only to seek the countenance of his Rabb, the Most High, and surely he will soon be happy. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he mentioned in the surah very, very importantly, a person who is destined for Jahannam, it becomes easy for that person to commit sin, while a person who is destined for Jannah, it is easy for that person to perform good deeds. Surah Duha. So this surah was revealed to reassure Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam after a long pause, a long duration in which revelation was not revealed. Rasulullah was given a 4-point strategy to overcome stress and sorrow, get rid of negative thoughts, and be determined that, Rasulullah, he will succeed. And recall past successes and set yourself clear goals and targets. So, this powerful message contains an amazing force field of energy which can heal our anxieties. So really, this is, of course, not just for Rasulullah, but it was revealed for Rasulullah, but it is applicable even for our own selves. So if we find ourselves in distress and we find ourselves depressed or in times of sorrow, you recite the surah, you remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then inshallah those sorrows and those grief that you have will leave you. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما قلى وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى ولسوف يعطيك ربك فترضى ألم يجدك يتيما فآوى ووجدك ضالا فهدى ووجدك عائلا فأغنى فأما اليتيم فلا تقهر وأما السائل فلا تنهر وأما بنعمة ربك فحدث. I swear by the forenoon and by the night when it becomes peaceful, your Rabb has neither forsaken you nor has become displeased. Sure that the hereafter is much better for you than the present life, and of course your Rabb will give you so much that you will be pleased. Did he not find you an orphan and gave you shelter, and he found you unaware of the way of the Sharia, and he guided you, and he found you in need, and made you need free. Therefore, as for an orphan, do not oppress him, and as for the beggar, do not scold him. And about the bounty of your Rabb, continue to talk. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Surah Inshirah, the surah builds on the previous surah's consolation of Rasulullah in an affectionate tone. Uh, the opening or the expansion of the chest of Rasulullah was a miracle that prepared him to be the vessel of the divine revelation. So it expresses the position of Rasulullah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alam nashrah laka sadrak wa wada'na 'anka wizrak alladhi anqadha dhahrak wa rafa'na laka dhikrak fa inna ma'al usri yusran inna ma'al usri yusra fa idha faraghta fansab wa ila rabbika farghab. Have we not caused your bosom to be wide open for you, and removed from you your burden that had almost broken your back? And we raised high your name, so undoubtedly along with the hardship there is ease. Undoubtedly along with the hardship there is ease. So when you are free from collective services, toil hard in worship, and towards your Rabb turn with eagerness. Surah At-Teen, the fig. This surah opens with 4 oaths of valuable trees and sacred places, splendid symbols, testimony to the truthfulness of its theme, the inherent goodness of human nature, and how easily it can be tarnished. And so this beautiful nature, it can easily be damaged. And so the concept of Yawm al-Qiyamah becomes or acts as a deterrent. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. والتين والزيتون وطور سينين وهذا البلد الأمين لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم ثم رددناه أسفل سافلين إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم أجر غير ممنون فما يكذبك بعد بالدين أليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين. I swear by the fig and the olive, and by Tur, the Mount of Sinai, and by this peaceful city, we have created man in his best composition, and then we turned him into the lowest of the low, except those who believed and did righteous deeds, because for them there is a reward never ending. So what can make you, after all this, to deny the requital? Is Allah not the greatest ruler of all the rulers? Surah Al-Alaq, it was that first surah that was revealed in the cave of Hira. Here, in the mountain or in the cave, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam reflected on the waywardness of the Meccans. He loathed their idolatry and the corrupt business practices that they had, and many very jarring behaviors and practices that was common at the time. So Rasulullah, he would, often ponder about these things. So it was during this time where Jibreel alayhi salam was sent by Allah and brought the first revelation. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم كلا إن الإنسان ليطغى أن رآه استغنى إن إلى ربك الرجعى أرأيت الذي ينهى عبدا إذا صلى أرأيت إن كان على الهدى أو أمر بالتقوى أرأيت إن كذب وتولى ألم يعلم بأن الله يراه كلا لئن لم ينته لنسفعا بالناصية ناصية كاذبة خاطئة فليدع ناديه سندع الزبانية كلا لا تطعه واسجد واقترب. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, read with the name of your Rabb who created everything. Now, very, very important to mention. The first command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the Muslim Ummah, for Rasulullah, was what? Was Iqra, was read. This was the first command, right? Before everything else, on top of everything else, the main priority, the main command for all Muslims was to what? Read. And interestingly enough, you have to look into it more deeper. The more deeper you go, the subhanAllah, the better it gets, right? This command was given to who? It was given to Rasulullah, and Rasulullah was illiterate. He did not have the ability to read. He did not have the ability to write. So the first command for Rasulullah was something that he was incapable of. But what was the reason for this command? Right, it wasn't just for fun. It wasn't just for any reason, right? A reason why is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and not just Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but throughout Islam, one of our greatest uh, points, or one of the greatest qualities where a believer has, is that he strives and aspires to do things that normally is not within realm of possibility, right? The saying goes, it's really confusing, but he aims for the stars and reaches the moon, or either way, he aims for the moon and reaches the star. But in any case, the moon is closer, so he should be reaching for the stars, right? So the main point is that a believer, a Muslim, is someone who aspires and he sets goals for himself. So similarly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted Rasulullah to set this type of example, that you set yourself a goal, that you read, Iqra, you set yourself these type of aspirations. And only when Muslims are able to set these type of goals is when they're able to succeed in life, right? The golden age of Islam in history is when the Muslims were uh, they had the best navy, they had the best army, and if you go to the Ontario Science Center, right now, if you go to the Ontario Science Center and you go through the astrology section, not just astrology, I don't mean like the chart or whatever, where people do uh, their signs and whatever it's called. What I mean is the study and the science of the stars and actual astrology. And you look at who were the first and foremost scientists or the discoverers, you'll see all Muslim names, all Muslim names. And I'm telling you this in Ontario Science Center. Not that you go to some Muslim country and go to their Muslim museums, but you go to the Ontario Science Center, right? A very common, just for everyone museum, and you'll see that the discoverers are all Muslim people. So the advent and the greatest discoveries and all these things, you'll see that it was all Muslim people, and this was when they had, proper goals and aspirations. And then nowadays, what do you have? The greatest achievement or the greatest goal that we have right now is that we pass our exams or that we get that job that we wanted or whatever. That's as far as it goes. Something that is within the realm of our possibility. Something that we're, just by living, just by breathing, we'll get, right? It's not that difficult. But really, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to have these types of goals. And this is something that's really, really important. That's why I wanted to mention it, even though we're short on time. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, read with the name of your Rabb who created everything. He created man from a clot of blood. Read, and your Rabb is the most gracious, who imparted knowledge by means of the pen. He taught man what he did not know. In fact, man crosses the limits because he deems himself to be free of need. Surely to your Rabb is a return. Have you seen him who forbids a servant of Allah when he prays? Tell me if he is on the right path, or bids piety. Would the former still forbid him? Tell me if he rejects the faith and turns away, does he not know that Allah is watching him? No, if he does not desist, we will certainly drag him by the forelock, a lying, sinful forelock. So let him call the men of his council. We will call the soldiers of the hellfire. No, never obey him, and bow down in sajda, and come close to me. The second last ayah, or these last ayah, are in reference to Abu Jahl, who threatened Rasulullah that he would call the men of his council to support him, and the Quran answers that threat. And furthermore, this is the final sajda ayah. So if you have not performed any sajdas up until the beginning of our program, I do highly recommend that you do all 14 of your sajdas at the end of the class, inshallah. Surah Al-Qadr, the night of destiny. So this surah commends the night on which the Quran was revealed, and the Quran was revealed in the night, a night in the month of Ramadan, where the Quran was transferred from Lawh Mahfuz in the upper heaven into the lower heaven, and then gradually revealed to Rasulullah over a period of 23 years. And the angels and human destiny and peace descend in this night. So two things to mention. This gradual descent is mentioned, and number two, the first night or the first time where the words of Iqra were revealed were also during a night in Ramadan. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر ليلة القدر خير من ألف شهر تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. We have sent the Quran down in the night of Qadr, and what may let you know what the night of Qadr is. The night of Qadr is much better than 1,000 months. The angels and the Spirit descend in it with the leave of your Rabb, along with every command, and peace it is till the debut of dawn. So, according to Hadith, this night falls in either one of the 5 odd nights in the last 10 days of Ramadan. So worship in this night carries multiple rewards. And it's so much so that worship in this whole night has greater merits than the worship performed in 1,000 ordinary nights. So revelation of the Quran in this night means that its revelation commenced and started in this night. And it could also mean, as I mentioned before, that the Quran was sent down from the Lawh Mahfuz and it was revealed gradually. So it could either mean one of the two. Surah Al-Bayyinah is a surah that deals with skepticism, resistance, and disbelief of those pagans, idolaters, Jews, and the Christians. The surah seeks to console Rasulullah and his followers that they do not need to be disappointed whenever someone rejects the faith. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لم يكن الذين كفروا من أهل الكتاب والمشركين منفكين حتى تأتيهم البينة رسول من الله يتلو صحفا مطهرة فيها كتب قيمة وما تفرق الذين أوتوا الكتاب إلا من بعد ما جاءتهم البينة وما أمروا إلا ليعبدوا الله مخلصين له الدين حنفاء ويقيموا الصلاة ويؤتوا الزكاة وذلك دين القيمة إن الذين كفروا من أهل الكتاب والمشركين في نار جهنم خالدين فيها أولئك هم شر البرية إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات أولئك هم خير البرية جزاؤهم عند ربهم جنات عدن تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها أبدا رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه ذلك لمن خشي ربه. Those who disbelieved from among the people of the book and the polytheists were not expected to cease from their wrong beliefs unless there comes to them a clear proof, a messenger from Allah who recites the purified scrolls containing right and straight writings, and those who were given the book did not disagree, but after the clear proof came to them, while they were not ordered but to worship Allah, making their submission exclusive for Him with no deviation, and to establish salah and pay zakah, that is the way of the straight religion. Surely those who disbelieve from among the people of the book and the polytheists will be in the fire of Jahannam, in which they will be living forever, and those are the worst of all human beings. As for those who believed and did righteous deeds, they are the best of all human beings. Their reward is with their Rabb, is gardens of eternity beneath which rivers flow, in which they will be abiding forever. Allah is well pleased with them, and they are well pleased with Him. That reward is for him who has awe of his Rabb. Surah Al-Zilzal, the earthquake, it talks about the accountability on the day of resurrection. An earthquake will flatten the whole earth. Mountains will completely turn into dust, and the seas will surge, and the earth will reveal its secrets, meaning whatever is inside the earth, whether it be the core of the earth or the caves or whatever, it will become inside out. So it will reveal its secrets, and the mindless people will have spent an entire life without a thought for the hereafter. And so, the surah, it gives an authoritative reminder of Yawm al-Qiyamah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها وأخرجت الأرض أثقالها وقال الإنسان ما لها يومئذ تحدث أخبارها بأن ربك أوحى لها يومئذ يصدر الناس أشتاتا ليروا أعمالهم فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يره ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يره. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, when the earth will be trembled with its quake, and the earth will bring forth its burdens. So the burdens or the secrets can also mean the people that are buried in the graves or the treasures that are concealed within the earth. And man will say, what has happened to it? And that day it will describe all of its happenings. So in Tirmidhi, Abu Hurairah radiallahu anh, he reports that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam explained this ayah saying that the earth will testify about all the deeds done by any man or woman on its back, because its Rabb will have commanded it, and that day the people will come back from the place of reckoning in different groups, so that they may be shown the fruits of their deeds. So whoever does any good act, even to the weight of a particle, will see it, and whoever does evil even to the weight of a particle will see it. Surah Al-Adiyat, the war horses. So the surah, it describes the unthankful nature of human beings. The word of kufr, the key theme in the Quran, is that a kafir, he is an unthankful or ungrateful person. He fails to acknowledge the gifts of the Rabb, and hell is the only abode for that person that will cleanse humanity of the sin. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعاديات ضبحا فالموريات قدحا فالمغيرات صبحا فأثرن به نقعا فوسطن به جمعا إن الإنسان لربه لكنود وإنه على ذلك لشهيد وإنه لحب الخير لشديد أفلا يعلم إذا بعثر ما في القبور وحصل ما في الصدور إن ربهم بهم يومئذ لخبير. I swear by those horses that run snorting, and those that create sparks by striking their hooves on the stones, then those that invade at morning, then raise at the same time a trail of dust, then enter at the same time into the center of the opening host. Man is indeed very ungrateful to his Rabb, and he himself is a witness to that fact. And in his love for wealth, he is very intense. Does he not know? Does he not then know what will happen when all that is contained in in the graves will be overturned, and all that is contained in the hearts will be exposed? Surely your Rabb that day is fully aware of them. Surah Al-Qariya, the surah, it asks a question about the Day of Judgment in order to open our eyes to the reality of Yawm Al-Qiyamah. And it describes its momentous events. That the root of a successful life is good deeds, and those who lack good deeds will end up in a blazing fire. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. القارعة ما القارعة وما أدراك ما القارعة يوم يكون الناس كالفراش المبثوث وتكون الجبال كالعهن المنفوش فأما من ثقلت موازينه فهو في عيشة راضية وأما من خفت موازينه فأمه هاوية وما أدراك ما هي نار حامية. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, the striking event. What is the striking event? And what may let you know what the striking event is? It will happen on a day when people will be like scattered moths, and the mountains will be like carded wool. Then, as for him whose scales of good deeds are heavy, he will be in a happy life. But as for him whose scales are light, his abode will be the abyss. And what may let you know what the abyss is? It is a blazing fire. Surah Al-Takathur, this surah, it highlights human greed for material things. It attempts to shock us in order to make us realize our spiritual faculties and make us appreciate that the material things that we have cannot save us from death. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر كلا سوف تعلمون ثم كلا سوف تعلمون كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين لترون الجحيم ثم لترونها عين اليقين ثم لتسألن يومئذ عن النعيم. You are distracted by mutual competition in amassing worldly benefits until you reach the graves. No, this is not a correct attitude. You will soon know the reality. Again, you will soon know. No, only if you knew it with a sure knowledge, you'll certainly see the hell. Then you will see it with full certitude. Then you will be asked about all the pleasures you enjoyed in the world. Surah Al-Asr, this surah has a very simple and sweet message. Uh, that life is short and fleeting. So save yourself by believing, doing good works, and being truthful and being patient. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wal 'asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa 'amilus salihati wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. Allah swears by time, saying man is in a state of loss indeed, except those who believe and did righteous deeds and exhorted each other, enjoining each other to follow truth and enjoining each other to observe patience. So the word patience comprises of three things. One, to remain steadfast in performing our fara'id. Two, preventing ourselves from committing the sin. And three, to endure hardships with patience. So the element of, or sorry, the sabr is of three elements. All right, I'm pretty sure I cleared everyone's drawings. I'm not sure no one could do so. All right, there we go. Fixed. Hey, Surah Al-Humaza, it is a surah which condemns those with negative attitudes towards other people. And this type of negativity in which people who continuously search for faults and faults with other people, not with themselves, and are obsessed with wealth. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. ويل لكل همزة لمزة الذي جمع مالا وعدد يحسب أن ماله أخلد كلا لينبذن في الحطمة وما أدراك ما الحطمة نار الله الموقدة التي تطلع على الأفئدة إنها عليهم مؤصدة في عمد ممددة. So the original words here are humaza and numaza, right? The difference between the two is that that the former word is used for the one who speaks evil of someone in his absence, while the latter is used for the one who taunts, insults, or hurls abuses to someone in their face. So many of the kuffar, many other disbelievers, they used to do this type of verbal abuse to Rasulullah. And so in this ayah and this surah, they are condemned. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, woe to every backbiter, derider, who accumulates wealth and counts it. He thinks that his wealth has made him eternal. Never, he will certainly be thrown into the crushing fire. And what may let you know what the crushing fire is, it is Allah's kindled fire that will peep into the hearts. It will be closed onto them in outstretched columns. Surah Al-Fil, the elephant. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He reminds us in the surah to take care of His places and His people. And the story of the elephant, a very, very common story, where Abraha's mighty army couldn't arm Makkah or the Kaaba. And so the surah, it emphasizes the protective power of Allah, and that the Muslims should also honor and value the places of Allah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم تر كيف فعل ربك بأصحاب الفيل ألم يجعل كيدهم في تضليل وأرسل عليهم طيرا أبابيل ترميهم بحجارة من سجيل فجعلهم كعصف مأكول. Wouldn't it be funny if I started from Alif Lam Mim all over again, huh? Have you not seen how your Rabb dealt with the people of the elephant? Has He not turned their plan into nullity? And He sent upon them flying birds and flocks, throwing upon them stones of baked clay, and so He turned them into an eaten of chaff. Story is a very, very long story. It's a very common story, of course. But the gist is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected the Kaaba from the army of Abu Raha. If you would like to read on it, uh, inshallah, in your own time. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Surah Al-Quraysh. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala highlights the favors of Allah, the provision of our livelihood, and the security from danger. لإيلاف قريش إيلافهم رحلة الشتاء والصيف فليعبدوا رب هذا البيت الذي أطعمهم من جوع وآمنهم من خوف. Because of the familiarity of the Quraysh, that is, their familiarity with the trips of winter and summer. They must worship the Rabb of this house, who gave them food against hunger and gave them security against fear. So, I'm not sure if I have too much time to delve onto this surah, but in any case, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He reminds us of His special favor, only, or rather the special favor that is upon the Quraysh, because they were the caretakers of the Kaaba. Now, ultimately, the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has such a high standard for the Quraysh is not only because they were the caretakers of the Kaaba, but the standard being that since they were the caretakers of the Kaaba, they were supposed to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone and not be the ones who associate partners with Him. Surah Al-Ma'un describes who is self-centered and heartless, a person who is incapable of even small kindnesses and shows no concern for the needy and won't even share his cooking pot. His worship is just for show. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أرأيت الذي يكذب بالدين فذلك الذي يدع اليتيم ولا يحض على طعام المسكين فويل للمصلين الذين هم عن صلاتهم ساهون الذين هم يراءون ويمنعون الماعون. Have you seen him who denies the requital? So he is the one who pushes away the orphan and does not persuade others to feed the needy. So woe to those performers of salah who are neglectful of their salah, who do good only to show off and refuse to give even small gifts. All right, so since we're short on time, don't want to delve too much onto the explanation of these surahs, but whatever brief explanation that was given before I started the surah, inshallah should suffice. So for Surah Kawthar, we have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioning that we have so much to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for, so that we should pray and make sacrifice, and that the enemy cannot harm us. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. O Prophet, surely we have given to you al-Kawthar, so offer salah to your Rabb and sacrifice. Surely it is your enemy whose traces are cut off. So Kawthar is the name of a river in Jannah. According to many hadith, it will be given under the control of Rasulullah, and he will distribute the drink of this of the river to the believers in Jannah, and yeah. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to be among those believers who are given the drink of Kawthar from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Surah Al-Kafirun, this surah, it teaches us never to compromise our principles, but accept differences of religion and freedom of speech wholeheartedly. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل يا أيها الكافرون لا أعبد ما تعبدون ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد ولا أنا عابد ما عبدتم ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد لكم دينكم ولي دين. Surah An-Nasr, this surah forecasts the Prophet's mission and says the mission has been accomplished, victory is imminent, and hints to the death of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفر إنه كان توابا. O Prophet, when there comes the help of Allah and victory, and you see people entering Allah's approved religion in multitudes, then pronounce the purity and praise of your Rabb and seek forgiveness from Him. Surely He is ever relenting. SubhanAllah, this on revelation of the surah, the Muslims were so happy. They were elated, right? The good news of victory was foretold, right? Surah was revealed shortly before the victory of Makkah. Bears the glad news that Makkah is going to be conquered, and then the tribes of Arabia will embrace Islam in multitudes. And so, since the mission of the Prophet ﷺ was complete on these events, he is directed to make tasbih. فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ. And the surah has an indication that the time of demise of the Prophet has drawn near. And according to Aisha radiallahu anha, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to say, "Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika Allahumma ighfirli." This is the tasbih that he did in his ruku and sujood after the revelation of the surah. And subhanallah, really, if you know the event on which this surah is revealed, it will bring tears to your eyes. Imagine that all of the Muslims are celebrating joyously. Even Umar radiallahu anh, is elated, except for Abu Bakr radiallahu anh. Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, being the only one who understood the meaning of the surah, was the only one who wasn't celebrating, because he realized when فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ was that part of the ayah. It meant that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's time was near. He was the only one from among the Sahaba who realized. Surah Al-Lahab, the surah or Surah Masad, surah that condemns Abu Lahab and his wife for insulting the Prophet ﷺ, clearly showing that we must stand up for the truthful teachers and challenge their detractors. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. تبت يدا أبي لهب وتب ما أغنى عنه ماله وما كسب سيصلى نارا ذات لهب وامرأته حمالة الحطب في جيدها حبل من في جيدها حبل من مسد. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, perish the two hands of Abu Lahab, and perish he, neither his wealth benefited him, nor what he earned. He will soon enter a fire full of flames, and his wife as well, the wicked carrier of firewood. Around her neck there is a collar of iron, like a well-twisted rope. Surah Al-Ikhlas, it defines the Tawheed, the oneness of Allah, the Eternal. No one is like Him. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, say the truth is that Allah is one. Allah is besought of all, needing none. He neither has begotten anyone, nor was He begotten, and equal to Him has never been anyone. Surah Al-Falaq is a story, is a surah in which is an antidote to the sources of physical and psychic harm. Allah will protect you from the harm of creatures, whether they are invisible dark forces, magic, or jealousy. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب ومن شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, say, I seek refuge with the Rabb of the daybreak, from the evil of everything He has created, and from the evil of the dark night when it penetrates, and from the evil of the women who blow on the knots, and from the evil of an envier when he envies. The women who blow knots is in reference to the general practice that was adopted by sorcerers, and especially these sorcerers were usually women who practiced witchcraft. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس. Say, I seek refuge with the Rabb of mankind, the King of mankind, the God of mankind, from the evil of the whisperer who withdraws when Allah's name is pronounced, the one who whispers in the hearts of people, whether from among the jinn or mankind. Whispering in this ayah, it means the evil thoughts and injunctions that are created in one's heart. So normally this is done by shaitan, but when Allah's name is pronounced and His refuge is sought, shaitan withdraws from his evil act. And as from jinn and mankind, this is an indication that even human beings can cast evil thoughts in an indirect manner. So one should be aware of both jinns and people when seeking refuge with Allah from them. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. Alhamdulillah, we have just finished the whole Quran. Technically, we have completed it twice. First time being the Quranic recitation, then the second time being the English translation. So technically, we have done 2 Dora-e-Qurans in the time of 1. So inshallah, before I let you all go, we'll do a quick khatam dua, and we'll be in Arabic, and then a moment for next self du'as, and then inshallah, yeah, that'll be it. اللهم تسالم ومنك السلام تبارك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا اغفر لنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان. رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا. صغارا. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم. أما بعد، الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم إنا ظلمنا نفسنا ظلما كثيرا وإنه لا يغفر الذنوب إلا أنت فاغفر لنا وارحمنا إنك أنت الغفور الرحيم. اللهم آنس وحشتي في قبري. اللهم ارحمني بالقرآن العظيم واجعله لي إماما ونورا وهدى ورحمة. اللهم ذكرني منه ما نسيت وعلمني منه ما جهلت وارزقني تلاوته آناء الليل وآناء النهار واجعله لي حجة يا رب العالمين يا رب العالمين. Ya Allah, Ya Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to act upon and do amal on this Quran. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to memorize His words and to really understand the verses and the context behind these ayat. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this month of Ramadan give us the tawfiq to perform many salawat, many tahajjud, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our Dora-e-Quran. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept that we have sat here every single day only for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, only for your sake, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, please accept this this Dora of the Quran from us, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, please accept the salawat that we do this month of Ramadan. Ya Allah, accept the fast that we perform in this month of Ramadan. Ya Allah, accept our Taraweeh. Ya Allah, give us the tawfiq to perform Taraweeh. Ya Allah, accept the tahajjud that we perform. Ya Allah. Ya Allah, give us the tawfiq and give us the tawfiq to be one that are both qabil and qubul. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to be one who are accepted from you. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, there are many groups and many examples of people that you mentioned in your Quran. Ya Allah, please make us from amongst those who are taken out of the fire of Jahannam and placed into Jannah. Make us successful, Ya Allah, make us successful. Ya Allah, Ya Allah. There are many people who are sick, and many people who are sick because of COVID, many people that are sick because of many other factors. Ya Allah, please cure them. Ya Allah, please cure all those who are sick. Ya Allah, please forgive all of them. Ya Allah, please forgive us all. Ya Allah, Ya Allah. Really, to you only do we return. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم. صدق الله العظيم.
سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Jazakallah khair for participating in these classes. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.